What is a woman? A female. Wow. There's an episode on Joe Rogan where Ben Shapiro keeps using the pronouns that the person presents as. Is Ben Shapiro up because he genuinely thought for a moment that they did have XX chromosomes? No, there's never that confusion in Ben Shapiro's mind. What's actually happening is
transgender woman from Orange is the New Black. She's on the cover of Time magazine, or he's on the cover of Time magazine.
Break a leg.
There's one way to curb underage drinking. Let's also put a picture of her by the mantle. Keep the kids away from the fire.
Yes.
Him. Shoot. Whatever.
Jordan Peterson actually gave the best answer for what is a woman.
And almost nobody can answer it.
What is a woman?
Peterson's answer is completely correct. People are just asking if you believe in trans people or not, but they think it's like a clever way of asking. If you don't think that trans people should be a thing, or you don't believe in trans people or whatever, then just argue that. I think it was memeing, but unironically, Andrew Tate also, through humor, is actually hinting at a lot of the concepts that I'm speaking of here.
Would you rather have sex?
Did Destiny ever react to Adam talking about his trans segment on the HodgeTwins? The Adam thing is where Amy defended you. They did a section on your trans comments on the HodgeTwins podcast. You say that genocide is about the special intent, and that's true, but if hypothetically 80% of a population group were killed, surely that's tantamount to genocide. I don't know what tantamount to genocide means. That's a meaningless statement. That's like saying if I punch a girl hard enough, eventually it becomes rape, right? No. Maybe if you punched her in the vagina with your dick. Academics have to conduct research and teach classes. Destiny sits on his ass all day. Why do you assume that doing research and teaching class isn't sitting on your ass too? Also, no. Plenty of people have lots of jobs that don't involve just teaching and research all day. Also, it doesn't matter if you can't communicate it. Communicating is important. Pretending a word means nothing if you don't see a strict legal definition is kind of annoying. I don't even know which side you're arguing on. Language is complicated. When you say a word, you're invoking like webs of concepts in your mind. That's how humans use language. The idea that any one particular word has like an absolutist meaning, except for maybe abstract concepts like the number one, is retarded. So somebody like tries to nail you down, like, what is a woman? Ask somebody, well, what is a table? Or what is a chair? You can't, oh, nice, yeah, disconnect me for no reason, yes. Reconnect me, yes. This is a dumb analogy. The punching isn't an inherent part of as opposed to killing or reducing population is an inherent part of genocide. Not necessarily. Genocide has two elements. Both need to be met. That's it. If you're missing one, it's not genocide. That's it. Epic fail. Oh, they even call it epic fail. Thank God.
Our old friend Destiny.
Destiny.
Stephen Bonnell is in the news again, but not necessarily for the right reasons, because he was recently on the HodgeTwins podcast, and they asked him a very difficult question that he struggled with, and the question was, Destiny, what is a woman? And he gave a sort of answer. I believe we have the clip.
What is a woman? What? Fuck, that's a really complicated question. Man, come on, man. That's an insanely complicated question. Yeah. Here, without diving too deep in all this dumb shit, okay? Listen, okay? Jesus Christ, okay?
He's trying to think of it.
So
Why is that an insanely complicated question?
It was, but then this is how they responded after he kind of gave some, ran around the bush here about that. Do you have the second half of that clip?
Yeah.
Ran around the bush. Oh, so we don't even play my answer. That's good, okay. Shit, Mrs. Weber.
I think when somebody said I think of tits in the vagina.
Sure, maybe, but like you might meet somebody.
No, not maybe.
Not maybe. So the HodgeTwins were not having it, Destiny.
Wait,
By the way,
that?
Destiny, you gotta do better than that. Can you have the full
Gotta do better. You didn't even listen to the explanation.
extent of the clip, if you
Yes.
can?
I feel like we
So
need
he
to
went to
do that.
basically say all sorts of explanations like, well, you gotta understand what qualia is. It depends on the circumstance, and like there's tables and there's curtains, and is a hot dog a sandwich or not?
Vagina.
And Destiny's not an idiot. We've done multiple podcast content.
Yeah, he's
with
smart.
Destiny, I don't know why he struggled with this one, but this is what he did and attempted to try to define a woman. Go ahead.
Is a woman.
I'm confused when you talk about the what is a woman question because your argument for a woman possibly meaning all these things sounds like people trying to argue racism is power plus prejudice. No one uses the word woman like that, just like no one uses the word racist like that. Okay. I'm just going to end up re-explaining what I explained on the HodgeTwins show. When you're using words, the goal is to invoke something in a person's mind, okay? That's all we do. When we speak language, the goal is to invoke something in a person's mind. I would say that in like 99% of circumstances, when you say woman or you say man, people understand what you're invoking there, right? But you take for granted how complicated language is when you speak a thing to invoke something in a person's mind. Because what you're invoking in a person's mind is very rarely as rigid or as fundamental as people like to think. That's why it's funny to me when people say things like, oh, well, when I say woman, I mean like vagina and tits or whatever. And I was like, okay, that maybe you can say that you mean that, but when you identify people as man or woman in society, when we say that, we're we're not really evaluating them on those circumstances. You might assume that they have it, but we're using these as like proxies for other traits or characteristics. Or like when somebody says, for instance, even in common policy for like sayings, if somebody says like, "Oh, you throw like a woman," or "Why are you acting like a girl?" Are they literally saying that like you're moving your body in a way that makes it seem like you have a vagina or tits, or are they referring to some like other types of like behavioral characteristics, right? I'm saying when we say words, it's complicated. The question of what is a woman is just a retard's way of trying to get a gotcha because they're either too intellectually lazy to explore, like trans topics, or they're genuinely too retarded to understand how sophisticated or complicated language is. That's it. Like, what is a woman is just a shortcut to being able to say like, oh, well, I don't think that like trans people are a real phenomenon, which by the way, that's like a defensible position. If you think that trans people aren't real, or if you think that like the way that we approach trans issues is not real, or I'm sorry, is not good, then have that argument. You can have that discussion, right? Which is fine. But to try to mask it with like a what is a woman, it's like content made by retards for retards to convince retards that they're not retards. Like that's like you think you're getting some like massive own by saying like, well, what is a woman? Like, it's what like any word, any singular word is truly going to be pretty difficult to define when you're talking about the difference between like universal categories of things versus like particular things themselves. Just definitionally, these are incredibly difficult things to pin down. And that can be true if we talk about like, what is a phone? What's the difference between like a phone and a tablet? Or like, I said before, what is a table? What is a chair? What is like any particular type of thing? And I think I give the meme example, like, well, what is a hot dog or a sandwich, right? Like these are like meme examples, but they demonstrate that like language is a very complicated thing. It's arguably one of the most complicated things that humans utilize is language. It's probably one of the things that gives us the biggest advantage over every other species on the planet. Like the idea that we can say something and refer to things at different times or in different places, or refer to things like relationally. We're not even just saying nouns. We're like talking about relationships between two things or describing abstract thoughts. Like, yeah. Do you feel like sometimes it's not worth getting into it? Yeah, it's never worth getting into it because everybody that asks these questions are by definition fucking retarded, especially because the answer to these questions are always retarded, because the answer they'll give is something like adult human female. Okay, genius, what the is a female? That's literally a definition. It's a tautological answer. You're answering the question with the same thing that is contained in the question itself. Like, what is a woman? A female. Wow. Holy shit, bro. You're fucking genius. Good job. You solved it. Like, it's just stupid. Couldn't you just say XX chromosome human mammal? You can say that, sure, but I hate this topic. I hate it. When you say like, couldn't you just say XX chromosome human mammal? Sure, but then the question becomes, when you say woman today, are you referring to the same thing that somebody meant when they said woman in the year 1000? Because they didn't know about XX chromosomes. So when you say woman and you're referring to chromosomes, are you now referring to something substantively different? Has the definition changed? Were they always referring to XX chromosomes without realizing it? Right? Language is complicated. That's all I'm saying. Don't take it for granted. Or do take it for granted, because nobody honestly gives a f***, and everybody just takes it for granted anyway, so who the f*** cares? What the fuck? That's a really complicated question. That's an insanely fucking complicated question. Yeah. Here, without diving too deep on this, don't okay? Listen, okay? Jesus Christ, okay? If I tell you a thing, okay? In philosophy, there's something like quality, okay? So like, what is it like to experience something, okay? Behind you is a red curtain. You've never seen color red before. And I say, there's a red curtain. I can never actually express what that quality is. You're not gonna know unless you experience it yourself, right? There are things we experience, and when we have two brains, okay? I can never send you an idea. I can't do it. It's impossible because our brains are. So what I do is I speak a word. When I say something, I hope you have an experience that now sounds good. So when I say, oh, this blanket is really soft, you might think soft like, oh, like a dog or a cat or a pillow. You've got other experience. I also hate this too. God, it makes me not want to do any of this cuck shit. It makes me not want to do any of this because I get accused of doing it on the other end, where people always say like, oh, Destiny just does rhetoric and he blah, 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 blah. And it's not, I hate rhetoric. I hate rhetoric so much because most of the time that I spend preparing for debates is figuring out how to communicate ideas to retards, okay? So when you say, just say woman is a category, different people have different qualifications or borders of that category. The long diatribe is always going to be a PR nightmare. When you say PR nightmare, what that sounds to me like is like you have to dumb yourself down to have the most retarded conversation in the world because everybody listening to you is a moron. I hate that. I'd rather just have an interesting conversation with an intelligent person rather than sit here and try to think like, okay, well, how do I dumb this down for the retarded knuckle-dragging moron that's going to be listening to this, who's like literally drooling and coming at the same time, trying to smash the right combination of letters on their keyboard to, say whatever bullshit on Twitter. God, it's so annoying. Ugh. the word when I say something, I hope you have an experience that maps onto that. So when I say, oh, this blanket is really soft, you might think soft like, oh, like a dog or a cat or a pillow. You've got other experience in that one. Right? For all of the language that we use, we say words. There's a whole bunch of associated concepts that like pop up when we say those words. Now, they might not map cleanly onto some universal, Platonistic form of a thing. So for instance, when I say table, when I tell you to define a table, you can never give me a definition that encompasses all tables and excludes all things that aren't tables. Right? Do they always have 4 legs? One, is something you can like, say, I don't even know what, like, I explained all this. I don't even know if it's worth explaining all this. I don't even know if anybody even connects with anything I just said. They're like, oh, actually, no. Actually, words come from Merriam-Webster. What was like a woman? When you say woman, then the concept lights up a whole bunch of concepts. So woman, they tend to dress a certain way. They tend to have certain hair. They tend to exhibit certain characteristics. They tend to have certain body parts. They tend to have certain. Right? So a woman, it really kind of depends on the circumstance, right? Like if I'm in let's say that I'm in school, right, and I'm like a grade schooler, and somebody says, oh, a woman just walked by. Well, in that case, you're probably speaking more to age than like gender, right? It's like, oh, woman, shit, like Mrs. Whoever.
I think when a woman might say that, I think of tits in the vagina.
Sure, maybe, but like you might mean. Can you explain that counter argument a bit further? They generally identify the X chromosomes based on how females develop and look sure. Why is it wrong to say that now that we know? Why is it wrong? It's not about being like right or wrong. It's about looking at the world with a little bit more sophistication than whatever stupid alternative media dipshit you listen to. Okay? I can prove words arise descriptively. Like language, that's not the right word. I'm thinking of description versus prescription. Words arise through use, okay? You use words and that's how they become popular in society. They don't come from a book with strict definitions. The easiest argument in favor of this, like here's the easiest argument completely, is I just have to look at, what was that podcast where, it's the easiest demonstration of the concept that I'm getting at, and it proves it so cleanly. There's an episode on Joe Rogan where Ben Shapiro keeps f***ing up over and over again. He's trying so hard to gender somebody with their biological sex or whatever, and he keeps using the pronouns that the person presents as. He keeps fucking it up over and over again. And the reason why, you have to ask yourself in those moments when Ben is f***ing up, is Ben Shapiro f***ing up because he genuinely thought for a moment that they did have XX chromosomes, that they genuinely had XY chromosomes? No, there's never that confusion in Ben Shapiro's mind. What's actually happening is the way that we use the words male or female or man or woman, it's a complicated web of things that we associate with it. And if enough of those things, flip a switch in one direction, then we tend to think man, we tend to think woman. That's how it works. What I just said there is true. You can be ass mad about it if you want, but it's true for you, no matter how much you're kicking and screaming against the concept. This is how you use language, how everybody uses language. That's just a fact of the world. I'm not even saying anything controversial at this point. 34 minutes. Oh, it's this. I think he does this multiple times in this show.
Transgender woman from Orange is the New Black.
I never watched that show.
I've never watched that show either, but she's on the cover of Time magazine.
Oh.
Or he's on the cover of Time magazine.
Like, he does it several times in this. Somebody linked it. Does Crowder do this too?
Break a leg.
There's one way to curb underage drinking. Gosh. Let's also put a picture of her by the mantle. Keep the kids away from the fire.
Yeah.
Him. Shoot. Whatever. Z. I don't know. You can admonish me off the bat because I can't keep this straight.
Wait, but why can't he keep it straight? It should be incredibly obvious, right? Because he and she literally just mean chromosomes, right? You're never mixing those up, right? It should be really easy, no?
Look, I guess if Bud Light can pretend to be beer, he can pretend to be a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. But my question was that really her head? Why did her head look so huge?
Like, why? What do you mean her? Are they all of these people just keep forgetting the chromosomes? Is that what's happening here?
And her torso.
This seems like a weak point to argue on. Yeah, it's because you're retarded. I'm sorry. I don't have the patience for this right now. I can't do this today.
It looks so tiny.
Well, that's what happens. The estrogen it breaks down the body to the point of no repair, but you still have the ecrinomaly.
That was a guy at one point?
Yeah, exactly.
You want me to believe this?
Still is.
Yeah.
Still is a guy.
I gotta be in.
Like, even that sentence betrays what's happening in the head. That was a guy at one point. How could you ever utter that sentence unless there's something more in the definition than just the XY chromosome? Something else is happening there. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, something else is obviously happening in the brain there, right? Brian, thanks for the 10 gifted subs.
Sort of kind of cute. No.
Really? What? You're into the whole body of Tweety Bird head of Andre the Giant?
Again. No, I'm sorry. I was
Cameo
talking about the girl in the Nike commercial.
Oh.
No, holy Jesus, but her head looks huge there.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's an official deal with Bud Light or not.
I have no idea. But
you could still say a woman is XX chromosomes and also admit that appearance can deceive someone. You're deceiving yourself if you think that when you say XX or XY, that you're referring to some genetic structure. That's just not true. The reality is, two things can happen at once. Okay, words are complicated. Language is complicated. There's whole theories of language. There's reasons why people write so much on theories of language. So one is that language is complicated. And two, if you don't think that trans people should be a thing, or you don't believe in trans people, whatever, then just argue that. Don't be a little limp pussy who can't actually handle the discussion. So you think you're asking some stupid gotcha question that's just revealing that you would be wiped out in a society that doesn't allow 65 IQ people to breathe. Like, just say that. Just say, oh, well, I don't think that trans people exist in a way that they should have access to medication. We shouldn't treat them, blah, blah, blah. Just say that. Just do that instead of trying to do like the weird gotchas that just demonstrate your lack of understanding about anything having to do with humankind.
Need somebody. No, not maybe. A woman walks by, someone say, "Oh, she's got tits in the vagina."
But not, you're assessing behaviors anymore. When you see
Okay, gotcha. All right, so the HodgeTwins weren't having it. We've had the HodgeTwins.
Wow, Brian, thanks for 20 gifted memberships, buddy.
The podcast. Those guys are huge and hilarious. Destiny, you know,
we love Destiny,
smart guy. We've had him on the podcast. I like Destiny.
Yeah.
But sometimes, bro, just answer the question. So, Rich.
You are completely misunderstanding what the purpose of the question is, and I don't know why. The question is to test people's ability to define the categories they're seeking to redefine. No, you're wrong. That's not the purpose of the question. The purpose of the question is to see what team you're on, and then to see if you can like get a cheap gotcha because you don't have the philosophical or medical background to even discuss the question. That's all it means. That's all it is. That's the start and stop of what that question is for.
Trick question. What is a woman?
I mean, really?
Yes. Please,
Please don't use the word qualia, curtain, or hot dog.
I mean, I just lost a minute of my life listening to this idiot talk about. I don't know why he gets a platform. What is a woman? It's a biological female.
This was the cuck that was scared to have a conversation with me, right? Where Amy asked, "Is there one person that you disagree with that you'd have a conversation with?" And I think he like had a short circuit on the fucking stage. Was he one of them?
With the ability to birth children. That's it.
No, but some might say that's the sex. So there's two sexes, right? Female,
I don't
male.
care what other people say. A woman
gender.
has a uterus, has a vagina,
Listen,
has breast
I
tissue.
have my own personal opinion. You know, I
And it's such a this is like the health at every size arguments too. Like they act like they're so brave. Like, actually, I think a woman has a vagina and a woman has a, yeah, you're right. Like in 99.9, or maybe in all circumstances, depending on how you want to go about it. But like, just have the conversation then. Don't look for the easy gotcha question. Okay.
I don't like when people are like, you know, when you say, what is your gender? And there's like 50 different options.
Male
I'm
or
like,
female,
I'm overwhelmed. Yeah.
I don't know why we have to,
Why do we need to separate the
confuse
two?
things today.
But that's just what
This is all part of the agenda to pacify the Western.
Okay, how about this? Ready?
The agenda, the big agenda comes in. I like these guys that can't hold any complicated thoughts in their mind whatsoever. Somehow have identified like the overarching, like transcendental demon that is trying to control and shift all society. Can we just ship these guys all to Dubai? We should start a fund to ship these people to Dubai. They can just go live there forever. Get them the out of my country, please.
Raise your hand if you're currently pregnant on the panel. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have a biological
just
female that's pregnant.
The biological adult
Woman.
human female. Yes. Chris, I know you've been trying to get pregnant. Why hasn't it happened for you, bro?
Not a woman.
What?
What?
Yeah.
So what's a woman?
An adult human female.
Oh.
Like this is like a troll movie, bro. So much of the conservatives have like turned into like actual memes, like where you would never expect it to be so on the nose, like retarded. But it's like the fact that this guy, it looks like he's got a tube connected to his asshole, and he gets high on his own farts constantly. Like, what's a woman? An adult human female. Like, oh my god, bro. Congratulations. A woman is a woman, dude. You're so smart. You're so smart.
Yeah.
So what's a woman?
An adult human female.
Oh.
A birth giver.
Okay. What? By the way, let's just go around table here. Shay, what's a woman?
I can't even explain myself, but a birth
Okay.
giver.
Me.
We give life.
Give life.
Yeah.
Okay. Marina, you know, you can say it in English or Russian, but what is woman?
I would call her a biological female that can reproduct people.
Okay. Now, not every woman can give birth. We
Yeah.
understand that, but
Has ability to
have the
reproduce.
ability.
Yeah.
You came from. We all like. What did Tupac say? We all came from a woman, got a name from a woman, so don't try to blame.
Oh,
these
can I
women. All
add?
right.
Feminine
Go ahead. I
energy.
bring up Tupac. Shay wants to. Go ahead.
Feminine energy.
Feminine energy.
But I mean, you have men that
yeah, I
have
was gonna say,
feminine
there's men that
energy.
like
Destiny,
extra.
for example.
Oh, have you ever
That's
done any
totally
content with
right.
Destiny?
No, I would never sit with that guy.
Really? Why?
He's a clown.
You wouldn't debate him though?
On what?
I mean, at this point, should we just say that red pillars and all these hard right freak bitches just like money more than we do? We just don't like money enough. They are built different. What are you talking about? I mean, I think they probably believe this shit. They're just retarded. I don't know if it's a grift. I think they're just genuinely fucking stupid.
What is a
He
woman?
let other dudes bang his wife.
Oh.
He doesn't
Wait,
even.
what?
He doesn't have the capacity to describe what a woman is.
So you wouldn't even sit down.
So
with
what's
him.
the point?
I mean, that is true,
Is it
though.
that you don't respect him? You don't value him? You think he's an idiot? All the above? None of the above?
Can a person say there are only 2 genders and still believe that trans people are real? I guess I only believe in 2 genders. What is that's like a 2018 meme. Like how many genders are there? How many people are even pushing the more than 2 genders thing? Like, I think you're a super bad faith to conservatives. You know that Matt Walsh wasn't purity testing gender theorists. He was trying to show ideological incongruence. At least admit that. Matt Walsh was brought into Joe Rogan and asked how many trans children does he think are getting like puberty blockers or surgery or something. And his answer was like 4 orders of magnitude off after doing a whole documentary on trans stuff. So no, I'm not going to give any charitability to somebody that fucking stupid ever.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking about the drugs, millions.
Millions? How did you do a whole documentary on this? And you're like 4 orders of magnitude off. Millions of kids on puberty blockers? Millions?
You're talking about hormone blockers?
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers? Really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on that, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah.
You know what? I actually am glad he said that. That is your guess. That truly shows what your state of mind is and how disconnected you are from reality, if that's what you feel, right? I like asking engaging questions like, what is the percentage of people that you think are this? And somebody's like, 98% of people probably feel this way. And it's like, okay, well, we looked at the data and it's actually like 12%. I think you're a little bit disconnected, buddy. Millions of children on puberty blockers? How many children are even in the U.S.? Like, what is the total number of people from like age 18 and below? How many minors in the United States? What would I look for? What's the number here? There's about like 75 million. So if he says millions, he thinks what, like 5% of kids are on puberty blockers?
Be my guess. I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019. And when you compare that to how many were done between, 2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase. And over 1,000 girls had gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent,
right? Minors, and that's just up until 2019. And then we know that there's been this exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is way too many. It's a lot more than one.
Yeah, look, if you're an adult and you want to do that and you understand who you are and what you are.
Hold on, no shot. Americans think 21% of the population are transgender? That can't. What?
It's a very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender diagnosis.
It says it's kind of undercounted, but that
would be a big undercounting.
Less than 1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess, hundreds of thousands at this, but I could be wrong.
You did a whole documentary on this, didn't you? How do you not have any background information at all about any of this? Did you do any reading, any research, anything at all?
Million sounds great.
Yeah.
Bad Destiny.
I understand that he provides entertainment when he rambles on for 13 minutes about a subject like what's a woman.
Yeah, as opposed to this guy who's giving us so much intellectual stimulation.
But why? A biological woman is a person with a uterus, with a vagina, with female breast tissue that can birth a child. Straightforward. It's not a convoluted question. Let's bring in red curtains. And
It's really not.
legs
The
on
table.
a chair.
Yeah,
Like,
the table with the
who the
legs.
hell's falling for that? That's like bullshit baffled brains.
I zoned out.
Yeah, the big problem with intelligent liberals, I wouldn't call him a progressive because he actually just denounced progressives, but like with Pixie even, for example, they over-intellectualize things where they're like, well, I didn't check anyone's DNA before I walked into this
Right.
room. How could I really be sure? It's like there's two extremes. Either you're so dumb that you literally believe that people can be in the wrong body, your soul can be in the wrong body, or you over-intellectualize it using a fancy word salad like destiny.
Yeah, but you're over-intellectualizing it by saying chromosomes. Unironically, I don't even know if he would stand by his answer because he's so fucking unhinged now. Jordan Peterson actually gave the best answer on that documentary for What is a Woman. If you're not retarded, it's actually an insightfully correct answer, but I don't even know if Peterson knew how insightful or correct it was. I don't know if that segment is on YouTube because I feel like it's just that.
We've been journeying across the country asking people this question, and almost nobody can answer it.
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
Marry one and find out.
That's technically the use case is the correct answer. Peterson's answer is completely correct. Now, I don't know if he was saying that with any level of linguistic insight or any like philosophical understanding of what he's saying there about language, or if it was just like a meme answer because he's trying to whatever. But that is how we discover what words are, what language means, and how things are. It's as you use concepts and become familiar with them, meaning you have some sort of experience with them. This is how we develop language and vocabulary and communicate from person to person. That is what it is. So if you want to know what a particular thing is, truly the only way to know what that thing is to go out and experience it. That's the correct answer. But it's funny, but because Peterson has given us the right here, I guess people just think that's synonymous with adult human female, but... Why do you think the answers in the documentary were so piss poor then? Did it not succeed in showing how these PhDs in gender are incapable of understanding their own definitions? I don't remember when we watched this. I feel like most of the people that he was speaking to were stupid. That's the feeling I got, but I don't know who's to say. But I also don't know like the setup he had for all the questions and everything too, so I don't know. You do not need to marry one though. It makes no sense. No, you don't need to marry one, but you experience it. Experience is how we learn, like... Experience is how we gain the semantic content of language, right? That things that you say, there's semantic content. I think semantic content is what, like the quality of the experience of a thing itself. It's ideal, supposedly, it's what separates humans from computers, although who the f knows. But that understanding, I think, can only be gained through experience, right? That's why the Chinese room or whatever experiment with Searle is a question of like, does a guy in the room that's translating the language, does he have a semantic understanding of what's going on, or is it only a syntactic understanding of the language is processing, which isn't equivalent to the semantic understanding of a thing, but I don't care. I don't fuck it.
A woman is someone who claims that as their identity.
Wait, this is not, we were watching the rest of this. Oh boy.
He was.
Right.
Anyway, do you want to weigh in, Rain, on
What is the actual question that people are trying to make about what is a woman, but don't have the marts to from it? The smart people are just asking if you believe in trans people or not, but they think it's like a clever way of asking.
a woman is? Is there any...
Your experiences may not always lead to truth. There is a real truth behind whether someone is a man or a woman or not. No, there's not. What are you talking about? These are literally socially created concepts by humans. Language doesn't exist and categories don't exist outside of human. Well, unless you think that there's a God that exists that creates categories of things. But then that's a whole other religious epistemic argument or whatever. But universal concepts of things don't exist outside of human understanding, right? When you're talking about a particular thing, what you're talking about is like a relationship between underlying matter, and those relationships are ways that we organize and make sense of the world. But arguably they don't exist absent, the universal form doesn't exist absent like humans to have that idea, right? Like if every single human being were to be eliminated from the planet, like would a chair exist? Or would not a chair? A chair might exist, but would the concept, would the universal form of a chair exist? Or would the universal form of a bottle exist if you eliminate all of humans? Probably not.
Any different answers?
That is absolutely wrong, Destiny. Okay, good for you. Sex for mammals exists outside of human understanding, though. No, it doesn't. That's not true. Sex is a category of things. No, there might be underlying facts about underlying matter or whatever, where animals might have particular things and go about in particular ways and create babies and all of that. But the categories of sex, these categorical things, are ways that humans organize things on the planet. It's our way of like making sense of the world. These universal categories don't exist outside of human understanding. Like a particular tree or the matter that comprises a tree is hopefully a thing that exists. But the concept of a tree, trees as a concept don't exist when humans don't exist. What is it? Why would you separate the matter from the tree, from the matter from the planet? Or why would you separate the matter? Why would you even have a collection of like the wood, the leaves, the bark? I don't know what the parts of a tree are, right? The organizing that into one concept and then universalizing it and then categorizing other things in that concept. Why would you call that a thing? These are human things. Destiny was way too philosophical with his answer, which leads to the criticism. It's fair. No, it's a philosophical question. If you can't entertain the concept, then don't ask the question. When you're asking questions about language, you're always asking. These are always like very abstract questions. If you want to talk about trans people, then man the up and talk about trans people. Don't do this pussyfooting around on like philosophy of language while being too retarded to understand what you're doing. Just say it. Do you think that the trans people are real? Do you think that people can actually identify as a different sex or identify as a different gender? Just say that. Don't be a cowardly who has to like squirm around like a little worm on the outsides, asking, retarded philosophy questions because you're too retarded to actually engage with the subject, like head on. The words are human made, but the concepts are not. That's the point. No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Concepts exist. Even if all humans are gone, concepts exist. We just discover the concepts. We discover the universal forms. Thank God. Wouldn't nature just categorize itself without humans ever existing? No. What? No. Why? In what part of nature would it? Why would nature create a category? Ever? Things exist and they do as they do, but the category is like is a pattern or universal form. Who's to separate out? A leaf from a branch, or a branch from a trunk, or a trunk from the ground, or a tree from the planet, or a planet from a solar system? To separate these things out and to recognize distinct entities here. It requires like some sort of conscious differentiation to create these concepts. These concepts don't exist. You can't see sex anywhere, right? There is no way to see sex. In the same way that you can't see a chair, you've got like a collection or organization of matter, and you might be able to describe like its constituent elements, but you can't see that particular thing because that particular thing it's a human organization of the concept. Did gravity not exist before they gave it a name? For gravity, you're talking about like a force, a fundamental like force of the universe. It's different than a universal category of a thing. Can't animals do it too? I don't know. I don't even know if we could find evidence of animals doing it. You can see sex without humanity. Animals see it all the time. Every animal has found sex without cultural input. No, they don't, you moron. What the are you talking about? You think that when a dog goes to hump another dog, they have the universal concept of sex in their mind? No, they don't, you retard. Hormones in their brain make them horny because they see something that looks like it's and then they go and they shove their enough until they come and then they walk away. That's the only thing that's happening in a dog's head. There is no universal organization or recognition of concepts that are greater than or more abstract than the actual particular thing that they're engaging in. Unless you've spoken to a dog that's keyed you in on that. Are you saying that concepts and categories are only human things that can never be a universal thing? Correct. That is my belief, yes. If you're very religious, there might be ways to construct categories as like features of the universe. I personally don't believe that. I think it's a silly belief, but Destiny, doesn't a pattern exist even if there's no one to observe it? The pattern of a tree would exist even if there's no one to call it a tree. No, show me where the pattern of a tree is. That's the question then. Where is that universal concept? Show me. Where do I find it? Would you give the term human as much of an ambiguous meaning? No. Just because something is a universal and abstract form doesn't mean it's ambiguous. You can still very clearly define a thing. It doesn't have to be ambiguous. I'm just saying that it doesn't exist outside of like, these are mind-dependent things. At Destiny, I have a question. Whether the word is woman or smasha, the concept overlaps through all human societies, but Red Pill argues the concept is being undermined and redefined. Do you disagree? I don't disagree that there are redefinitions of how we view genders and maybe even sex to some extent through human history. No, this is happening all the time. Culture is constantly redefining and reinterpreting things. With the trans stuff and with drugs and surgeries, it's definitely a bit different than it has been in the past, maybe even meaningfully different or of a different kind of alteration. And whether or not this is good or bad, I think it's something worth discussing. But you can have the discussion of that without trying to invoke theories of language or universal Platonic forms that are way beyond any hope of you understanding these things, because you can't even entertain the idea without feeling so threatened that you've got to go like crawl in the corner and piss yourself. Just like say that. It's like, oh, I'm uncomfortable with the new ways that we're coming to understand like what woman or more man means, or the idea of like injecting hormones into people to change their like sex or gender. They say that. Those are even, I don't even say those derisively. Those are defensible positions. You can have arguments about that. What you can't have is some argument pretending that there is some universal prescriptive language that everybody must sign on to, and that's like a feature of the universe that we're discovering that is now being encoded into our brains. That's the dumbest to make that argument. Just argue about the actual concepts themselves, not more abstract things that you're unwilling to engage with.
I agree with Rich. A woman is just like tits, a vagina, and just like they give life. Like literally.
It's not complex.
It's not at all.
Thank God.
We give everyone gives a certain quality, but really that's the generality of it all.
You know, it's interesting with Destiny because I found that most men, that men are disagreeable, women are more agreeable. Men,
right.
Like if some dude walked into the bar and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a woman," all the dudes would be like, "No, you're not, bro." Like I see.
What?
Men, that men are disagreeable, women are more agreeable. Men,
right.
Like if some dude walked into the bar and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a woman," all the dudes would be like, "No, you're not, bro."
It's such a stupid example. What if Blaire White walks into a bar? Now do you believe in trans people? Like, it's such a stupid fucking example. You're pivoting between fact and language. We can use language how we want, but there are large gamete producers and small gamete producers, and this is as fundamental to mammalian biology as gravity is to the universe. I'll skip over the fact that you probably don't even understand a single thing about gravity, which is fine. But if you want to argue that there is a fact of the matter about reproductive organs, that is obviously true. If you want to argue that for women and for men, that 99.99% of the time, there is an overlap on this concept between like who we call men have these gametes, who we call women have these gametes. That's also true. Nobody should argue against that. That's almost for sure true. But like, keep the questions specific and keep the arguments precise. Don't balloon it out into some retarded shit like, well, one is a woman. Because, well, now you're invoking a whole bunch of other baggage and stuff that we... There's so much other stuff going on that when you're asking those broader questions about universalization or about language, just don't do that. Just focus on the specifics then. That's fine. Why can't the universe give concepts? Why is that not possible? Because I don't believe in immaterial things, and universal forms are not material or found anywhere in the world. They're products of people's minds. You cannot find a category. You can't find the universal form of a thing or whatever. Or any organization. This is all like relational, so it exists in our minds. Obviously, there is no perfect definition of man and woman, but isn't it best to use a robust scientific definition? No, what are you talking about? We don't use robust scientific definitions for anything. That's just not how day-to-day life normally works. What are you talking about? Even Europeans brag about using kilograms, and they're using it as measures of weight instead of mass, which is arguably an incorrect way to use grams. So no, we don't use anything like, it's most scientifically fucking hardcore. It's just not how we normally speak. It's not how language works. It's not how humans work. Okay.
Bruh, like I see your beard and your bulge and your package and sorry. Whereas women are more inclined to be like, well, she feels that way. It's her truth.
I think a lot of women...
This is why I don't think that women, like The View, should ever be allowed to just do a show without a man being like...
Then how do you write laws if things can change all the time? Just because something is socially constructed, or just because there's a universal category that's invoked or created by humans, doesn't mean that it can change all the time. Some things are more changeable. Some things are less changeable. It depends on the particular thing we're talking about. If we're talking about a thing like what is music, well, that's probably something that has changed quite a bit over time. If you're talking about something like, what is a chair or a table, that's probably something that hasn't changed very much throughout all the time. It depends on the word, it depends on the concept, it depends on its use, it depends on how we become familiar with it. Thank you, Destiny. I just recently watched the entire crash course in philosophy. I respect your philosophical understanding of language. I'd be done if I had to deal with your chat on a daily. I don't even know what the crash course is, okay? Whatever it is, it probably knows more than me. So, that's a fair point about law. How do you propose we write any laws that are required to be gender specific? I don't know. You would just, it depends on what the law is, and then you would just specify. How many laws are even gender specific? Are there a lot of gender specific laws? I think you're conflating universalism and realism. These concepts may as well be universal, but they wouldn't exist mind independently like realists like to claim. Okay, I don't believe that universal concepts are mind independent, so I don't know what you want me to... Why does it exist like that in our mind? Why don't most people just mistake where the branch ends and leaves start? Why do animals also perceive it similarly to humans? If you think that animals perceive the world the same way as we do, we're way off in conversation. Please answer this. I'm curious. Can't you say a woman is someone with XX chromosomes but still mistake their gender, just like how you can mistake someone for being someone else, but that doesn't change the fact that the person you thought they were is still the same person? You're mixing up like a particular thing versus a category. The question is the same thing as the Picasso painting, okay? Earlier, the guy tried to make the point that like, oh, well, if you had a painting you thought it was a Picasso and then you found out it wasn't by a Picasso, then you wouldn't treat it as a Picasso. Sure, but that's because you care more about the particular thing itself than like any category. It would still be like a painting, but like you're looking for a very, very, very particular fact of the matter of like who painted it. At that point, you don't even care what the painting looks like. You just care that he was the one that actually painted it, right? The reality, this is such a... Okay, I need to chill. Girls and boys and children grow up and they learn all about what a woman is and what a man is and what a boy is. All of them learn these things without ever even knowing what a chromosome is. The way that we become familiar with these concepts of what is a man and what is a woman, there's more content to that definition than chromosomes or even gametes, all right? You can argue that it stems from chromosomes, that there are other features or whatever that we identify, as male or female, and they stem from those. You can make that argument if you want to be a little bit more sophisticated about it. But the reality is that we become familiar with these concepts before ever even learning what a chromosome is. So clearly something is happening there that's not just chromosomal identification. I'm trying to find an argument. Are different kinds of particles objective category? I don't know what even the question means. I don't even know if I can answer that question.
No, that ain't true, lady. Because guys are a little bit more prone to being like, nah, I don't play that game.
It's like
whereas
the
women
view needs
like,
a supervisor?
What's that?
The view needs a supervisor. You should take care of that.
A lot of women like snap and congratulate stupidity. That's the thing. Like they always like come together like, yeah, I love that. I love everything that you're doing. You know, it's like wrong. A woman will never like say wrong about another woman because they are so...
Meanwhile, all of these red pill cucks will go and high-five each other's dicks over their Islam shit when none of them have opened up a single holy book in their entire fucking lives. And then they'll sit there and they'll clap each other's ass cheeks over whatever crypto scam bullshit they're trying to sell people or approve of. Bro, the idea that like men are above these like weak-minded socialization things where they bow to social pressure and will sit around each other like needlessly and endlessly approving the bullshit that each other is the funniest hope in the universe.
So concerned about their status and who they are and stuff. Be like, no, I love her, but then talk behind her back.
Right.
Well, it's competition. They don't want them to do well.
Yeah.
They don't want other women to surpass them. So they'll lie to their face and tell them they're doing a great job because it behooves them to keep women low so they can ascend and get higher level men. You talk about, women are best at sabotaging other women.
So good. Mean Girls. Literally a whole movie about it. Mean Girls. Like, literally.
They just came out Mean Girls a part 2, 20 years later.
Not the same. It's not the same.
Okay.
Like a musical or something? Not the same.
All right, guys. Stop being such Mean Girls here. I just didn't
Exactly.
But Destiny, do better, bro. Rich, not a fan of Destiny, but we'll see. Maybe we make some peace there. No, not gonna happen.
I like being around men that are men, right?
Yeah.
The dude looks like he can't punch his way out of a wet paper bag.
Oh shit.
Can I ask you, who do you have like an...
Why this 60-year-old guy with these gross... What are we...
Right?
Yeah.
The dude looks like he can't punch his way out of a wet paper bag.
Oh shit.
Can I ask you, who do you
Like,
have...
did this guy fight his way to this position in life? Well, like Mr. Four Eyes over here is like the warrior of his society. Like,
have like an adversarial opinion with that you would like to debate? Because like obviously like Jasmine Jafar, she's...
oh, and she asked him, that's included at the end of this video, is epic and memey as
I'll ask you, who do you have like an adversarial opinion with that you would like to debate? Because like obviously like Jasmine Jafar, she's someone polar opposite to you. Destiny, someone polar opposite to you. you don't want to share. You said you wouldn't share a stage with either of them. So who is someone who shares what you would call a very adversarial opinion to you, who you would like to get up and debate with?
There's intelligent people that have adversarial opinions that you can have a conversation with. There's other people that just try to baffle you with bullshit, right? I just don't have time for that.
But could you give? Do you have any?
What do you? No offense, but like, what do you do with your time, bro? Like, you're sitting here on this show. Like, what is so important? Like, I would probably be the biggest platform you have access to. What are you talking about?
Example of someone who
Throw some names at me.
I mean, would you?
I don't think about other people as much as you think I do.
I was like, I don't even know who's out there.
Yeah.
Wait, but meanwhile, you have all this information about my personal life, supposedly. Like, what?
Said,
I didn't even know who the hell Chelsea
Handler. You know Chelsea Handler. He basically, Rich gave you the ain't nobody got no time for that speech. Whoa. If you like that one, click right here to watch the.
Wait, is this really the same guy? Is he Richard Cooper? May 24th. Why anyone gives this homo that lets other dudes bang his wife a mic is beyond me. Are you just looking to amplify his retarded takes and have a laugh? March 22nd. The guy that lets other guys bang his wife is calling everyone dumber. That's Rich. February 14th, people still talk to this homosexual after his pilot ship crashed and burned. January 23rd, the thing they both have in common is neither one could punch their way out of a wet paper bag. January 5th, arguing with you is like playing chess with a pigeon. Even when you lose, you strut around proudly shitting on everything like you are a winner. By the way, how do you like being wrong about letting dudes bang your wife? This guy has eaten more of his cum than any gay dude across the entirety of Grindr. You can always tell the cum eaters, the self-cum eaters, when you look at stuff like this. This guy absolutely feasts on his own loads every time he jerks off to whatever new cartoon he's drawn or watched of like some dude getting cucked because he wishes that he could be in the every single time. There has to be. To have this level of obsession must be projection. I don't believe anything else. The obsession and the fascination that people seem to have on like a sexual life that I didn't even lead is so weird to me. Holy shit. What do you believe is the main reason people are uncomfortable with the shift and how we define gender? Are you happy to accept people's reasoning to why they're uncomfortable with such a shift? I don't even think people have thought about it at all. I think it's just part of like your tribe basically. And then you inherit your beliefs and that's it. I think it's the start and stop. Most people don't think about any of this shit. They say natural born healers with hyperfocus and extreme healing is a mental illness and should take meds and watch natural born killers. You definitely should take meds. Destiny, use this for the dumbass in chat. How do they know any fictional character is a specific gender? Do we always get a karyotype in their lore? Wow. I truly don't mean to be rude, but I think you tell people they haven't thought about it, whom you disagree with, to dismiss them easier. That's great, but I'll talk to any of these people and they'll dodge me. I've done all of these topics in extreme depth, at extreme length, for years on my YouTube channel, whatever. So you can make that claim about me, but it's hollow as Okay, actual question I can't push past, but why shouldn't trans people legally be identified as their sex from birth and socially identify as trans? I'm pro-trans to this extent, and if I can hear the logic to it, I have zero problem changing my mind. I don't care to change your mind. The reality is trans people would sort themselves out anyway, and you would have no problem with it. The people that are hardcore on like, oh, well, you should always be in the sex you identify with, it should always be you're born at, blah, blah, blah. The reality is that if you were in a mall and your wife went to the bathroom with her daughter and you saw Buck Angel walk out of the bathroom, you would lose your shit. And Buck Angel talking to you and saying like, oh, well, actually, it's okay. I'm a trans man, so I have a vagina. That wouldn't be an acceptable answer to you. You wouldn't accept it. You'd say, bro, go to the fuck, or I mean, not bro, I mean, girl, go to the other bathroom. That's what you would say. Because you would do it. You would look at them, you would have a feeling about it, and you would intuitively decide where they should or shouldn't go based on their gender expression. That's how you would think. You don't need an argument for it, you don't need to legislate for it. That would be it. If you were in a bathroom with your little 5-year-old boy and Blaire White came walking in, you would look at her and you'd be like, hey, I don't think you belong in here. Like, my son's in here, like, what? Like, go to the other. That's what you would say. That's it. Now, whether that means that somebody should be able to participate in sports or, for medical decisions, these are different things, okay? At Destiny, the average trans woman looks like a man. That's the whole point of the discourse. You have no idea what the average trans person looks like. You look at people on Twitter. But also, thank you for admitting that, because then if you admit that, then it really does all come down to gender expression, and it doesn't come down to any sort of like actual like genotypical thing, genotype. Yeah. Like when conservatives say that like XX and XY are the only thing, conservatives want this girl. Conservatives want this girl in the bathroom with their daughters. That's what you're saying, okay? If you're a conservative, you're saying, I want this person to go to the bathroom right next to my daughter. That's what you're saying every time. And listen, if you want to own that, then fine, own it, I guess. I just don't think in the real world, I don't think most people's brains operate this way. Unironically, Andrew Tate gave...
Would you rather have sex with a transsexual, which is a legitimate 10, or a woman, which is a legitimate 1? And everyone's sitting there clicking woman, 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 because they think they're going to be gay if they do anything else, but they're not actually thinking about the question. I am so smart. I operate on so many levels higher than the average man. You people are not thinking about the question. When I say a 1 and a 10, I mean Megan Fox with a d, that's the tranny, or Hulk Hogan with a p, that's the girl. This is the question I'm asking. Megan Fox or Hulk Hogan? So you're thinking, well, I don't want to be gay, so I just clicked the girl, the number 1, did it? You're gonna f Hulk Hogan.
Why do we use the pronoun he for male animals and the pronoun she for female animals? Because we generally map he and she across the entire, I think, animal kingdom, across anything that has gametes, like by... Would it be it wouldn't be bimodal gametes. Gametes would be binary gametes, right? I think it's generally we identify male and female.